Hi, welcome to Geeks Under Grace. This is Christ-Centered Cinema with your host, Chelsea Kesson. Let's get started with my first review. Alright, so my first review is going to be The Time Changer. This is a Rich Cristiano film that he actually wrote and directed back in 2002. His whole premise was that this was going to be a saved version of Back to the Future.
Great Scott!
And with that in mind, I am a huge time travel nerd myself. I love Back to the Future, so I was totally excited. This follows the adventures of Dr. Robert Carlyle, who's played by David D. Morin, who is sent basically from the 1800s to the year 2002. It's not really made very clear what year he goes to. I can tell that it's 2002 because everybody's talking into their cell phones and not playing on them. He's sent there by his colleague Norris Anderson, who also works at the Bible College Seminary that he works at. Norris is played by Gavin McLeod. You might know him from The Secrets of Jonathan Sperry, or The Love Boat, or Mary Tyler Moore. This guy's been in so much stuff, like, it's crazy. Dr. Carlyle, like, the whole plot is that he has this book that he's trying to publish, and he needs to actually have a unanimous committee say, okay, yeah, we're going to give you an endorsement, but Norris will not give him the endorsement and basically is just standing in his way. Because in his book, he claims basically, well, if we preach Jesus, we need to preach good morals. And Norris is like, well, if you preach good morals, then you don't preach Jesus. They don't have a standard to go off of, so the morals are just going to get worse and worse. So anyway, to show him the error of his ways, Norris decides to send Dr. Carlyle to the future in a steampunk, well, not really in, using a steampunk time machine that he created in his barn. I love me some steampunk. It's all sorts of goodness. All sorts of it. The lesser goodies of this film would have to be there's just all this like goofy fun with Dr. Carlyle coming into the future, and he's just like, oh goodness, he's just generally baffled at everything. Half the time he's horrified, the other half of the time he's just baffled, so it's kind of hilarious. I'm just like, it's just great. I love a baffled, goofy dude just walking around like, I have no idea how to do anything, and everything is like, what? It's great. There's also a big gospel sort of preachy message at the very end, which I think is actually a really good one. The cons, basically, it can be kind of cheesy at times. There's this weird kind of underlying plot line. He finds a church in 2002, decides to start going, then two of the guys that go there are so offended that he exists that they decide to do research on him and basically, like, stalk him. He's there for a week. Like, no wonder people don't go to church. We're afraid we're gonna stalk him. Like, I mean, come on, for real. So it just doesn't make any sense. And so they like try to track him down, and, like, you know, get him sent to the loony bin, which makes no sense to me because I've never done that to anybody who's visited my church. I've never been like, okay, so I'm the church clerk, and now I know your name, and I'm going to stalk you on Facebook. Yeah, I don't do that, because that would be wrong. So, another theme in this movie is that we should be really careful what we take in. Like, we're affected by media, we're affected by games, we're affected by movies, and it's really easy for us to allow the culture to affect us instead of affecting the culture. Like, one of the best parts, and I've always wanted to do this, is he's sitting in a movie theater because the church group that he's a part of decides to go to a movie, and he's sitting there for like 10 minutes, I'm guessing. I mean, like 10 minutes into the movie, and he runs out. He just starts shouting at all the ushers and the popcorn guys saying, "There's blasphemy! There's blasphemy!" And I'm like, I wouldn't do that. That sounds like so much fun. He blasphemed the name of the Lord! And there's another point where there's a little kid on a couch watching TV, and the couple on the TV are like trying to make out with each other, and he's like, "What are you watching?" And he freaks out. I mean, we are so desensitized in our culture. We have Victoria's Secret ads everywhere. Here, blasphemy, it doesn't even register. So, I mean, I think that says a lot about how numb we've become to that. It should be harsh on us. It should be harsh on our ears because we do love Jesus, right? I mean, if you're saved, the God of the universe decided to become a human being and die for you in a brutally terrible, horrible, torturous kind of way. And so if you really love him, it should just really hurt you to hear somebody blaspheme him, you know, instead of just like, oh, you know, whatever, that's just what everybody else is doing. So I think that poses like a really good point. You and I both know that Christian movies can be a little bit on the cheesy side. So I have a cheese rating and I also have a stars rating. I'm going to give this guy 3 out of 5 cheeses, okay? So it's relatively cheesy. I think that's relatively cheesy. I grew up in an old Hollywood family, so like old, like Mary Pickford old. Okay, I grew up in this old Hollywood family. And I have a really high rating for how I want my acting to be when I watch something. So for me, it was relatively cheesy. But what made up for it was that it had a lot of heart. Like, you could actually tell that the actors, the director, everybody really believed in this film. So it actually came across as just really good, which raised its star rating to a 4 out of 5. This movie is a really good, if you're looking for a good introduction to steampunk, I think that this is actually like a really good film for that. So if you're just trying to, I don't know what steampunk is, well, watch this movie. There's a little hint of steampunk in there. Mostly in the time machine, in the barn. Until next time, I'm Chelsea Cusson, and this has been C3. What? Okay, bye. Movies, follow us on here. Don't forget to follow us on YouTube, like, subscribe to us, and all that goodness. But you can find us on Facebook. We have all these articles about all, like, amazing things. Which is bad. I try to get to bed at a decent time, but there's so much content that I end up getting to bed at like 1 o'clock in the morning and 4 o'clock in the morning tonight. Like, no sleep, no rest for the weary, I guess. IDK. So anyway, you guys can check us out on Facebook. You can check us out online. You can check us out. We also have gaming shows, all that goodness. So just check us out and keep on keeping on.